Welcome back. This is our Memorial Day tribute to those who served. And as my brother said, lest we forget. We shall not forget, and we won't let you forget, and we won't let our children forget. And I think that's a big part of it. It's not letting our kids forget.
Well, that's all right. My generation's forgetting.
Well, that's what I say. I agree with you.
They're forgetting. They forget basic history. Well, that's a conversation.
I think you and I
for another time.
Remember last year at this time, you and I were talking about the Chosen Reservoir because we watched the documentary.
Yeah, because we were just watching.
And Jim and I watched it again this year because it's a
pretty amazing story to watch these guys. But then not only that, I go through a phase where it's coming up where I'm going to start watching the Civil War documentary by Ken Burns again. I do this around around the 4th of July. Around this time. I don't necessarily watch Revolutionary War stuff. I do, but it's mainly about the Civil War because it was more profound. But that's for another time.
But let's let Rocky introduce the next segment.
And now here's that man with a head just crammed full of knowledge, Mr. Know-It-All.
Now, Mr. Know-It-All is generally me, Stephen Leahy, attorney. Stephen Leahy. But today, our Mr.
It's going to be me, right?
No. I hate that. I didn't mean anything.
What am I going to be, like the guy that knows it all?
I agree with you, Jim. And we'll
do it one day.
It comes with age.
Jim, what size is your shoes? I don't know that one.
I am penciling it in now, Jim.
I kind of just go to like the local Goodwill and find shoes.
But today, our Mr. Know-It-All is Tom Sodeika. And I have a question, because this was a question from one of my clients. They owed the IRS money every year. Every year they owed the IRS money, and they said, "Well, my employer they take my taxes out of my check." And how can I change that? Is there a way I can change that? Is there a way they can change it?
Oh, absolutely. And it's a little known fact, but as an employee and as a taxpayer. You indicate to your employer what effective tax rate you're going to have withheld from your income. And that's done through the W-4.
And these are the forms that people fill out when you get a new job, right?
They
sit you down, they say, "Here, fill out these forms."
Right. You fill them out, and then usually you forget and you never see it again. Well, what I recommend when I talk to people is that if you're running on a pretty steady income year to year, and you kind of know that your net income tax rate is going to, let's say, be 18%. You can request a W-4 from your employer at any time and request in there an 18% withholding so that whatever you get paid, it's going to be withheld at 18%. And come the end of the year, you're not going to owe, and you're not going to have a tremendous amount of a refund, which some people, I know they like to use the IRS as a savings program. I wouldn't recommend it.
I agree with that. 100%. Don't use the IRS as a savings. Say, "Well, I'm getting a big refund, like somehow the IRS is giving them money." They're not giving you money. It's your money, and you need it to live on. Take it from them. Now, this happens. We talk. Sometimes people they have a W-2 job, and I think we talked about it last week. I had a client, now she's being audited because she started a second job. Mm-hmm. And so this second job, right, she's not getting taxes out of there. But they could go.
Because she put her hard work in, and right. She's not really seeing any.
Oh, that was the hobby. They called it a hobby. But my point is that if her income goes up, she starts making a profit, she could change her W-2 and take the money out of there, can't she?
Absolutely. And likely by going to the second job, she's increasing her income, thus putting her into a higher tax bracket. And neither job in the payroll or tax system is going to recognize the two combined earnings. You have to do that yourself. And so if you realize, by working two jobs, I'm now paying a 28% federal tax, I better tell my client, right. I better tell my employer one, withhold me at 28%, and tell employer two to withhold me at 28%.
Uh-huh.
Because it's very likely the first employer will withhold her, let's say she's at a 20% tax rate. So withheld at 20%. The other job is part-time. It might only be withheld at 10%. So you may end up having a net effect of about 15% or 18%.
And you're going to owe. That's right.
You might owe 10% of your
And that's where the
income.
problem comes in when the people come to see me, right? Because they owe the IRS. They've used all of their money to live on. It comes that they owe the IRS money, and they're like, what do I do now? How am I going to pay the IRS? Now, there's lots of things you can do if you owe the IRS. So if you have something going on, call me. And if it's not that much, if you owe less than $10,000, they have what they call an automatic installment agreement. You could do that. They'll do it automatically. But what people don't also realize is that the IRS can contact your business, your employer, and tell him take more money out because he's not taking enough money out. But that's a
or you get the IRS levy comes in and it kind of starts coming out of your pay, and then you're forced.
It's true.
You're forced to make the payments,
and you have to handle that, don't you? When the levies come in,
sure. Garnishments, levies. When the levy breaks,
there's no one. That's right. When the levy breaks,
gotta love Led Zeppelin.
So, but this is important stuff, and I think, and again, that's why I think it's so important.
I think the most important thing out of this whole thing is both of you guys, like I've said earlier, are local. You're local guys. You're Chicago guys.
Let's get Tom's
and that's
number
what
again.
I was. Thanks for my. I was going to say what's more important is his number.
Okay, can I clarify? Did you say local or loco? I think we're both.
You're gonna
anyway, 630-242-1507.
I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
One more time with the number just because we were talking over.
630-242-1507. But more importantly, thank you to the families who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service of our country.
That is right,
Thanks
Tom.
for that,
That is
Tom.
right. Thank you.
That.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. But we still are coming back at you after this commercial break to finish the show off right. So stay tuned here on AM 560. The Answer.